Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Friday, December the 14th, 2012. Typically on Fridays, I go over the 19 major markets that we track for you at PerfectStockAlert.com so that you guys know everything that I know moving into the week ahead. There's not a lot I can actually add to what I put out last weekend, so I'm not going to be doing that this weekend. I want to show you guys something different. I wanted to address a couple of things. Okay, we posted a poll on the message forum at the free website at PerfectStockAlert.com. Basically, it's a fiscal cliff poll. We want to know what your opinion is. Do you believe it will be solved by the deadline, solved after the deadline, or not solved at all? Just so you know, currently 57% believe it will be solved by the deadline, 28% believe it will be solved after, and then 14% believe it will not be solved at all. Here's what you need to know. Those three items are going to determine how you read the short-term charts. If you believe one of those items, if you believe that you would be solved before the deadline, then you would currently be viewing the market as being oversold. If you thought it would be solved after the deadline, well, then you're expecting some massive selling as we approach the deadline and we go over the cliff, and then a rebound as we actually solve the crisis of the fiscal cliff and the negotiations there. If you don't believe it would be solved at all, I'm totally against you on that one, but if you simply don't believe we would solve it at all, we go to fiscal cliff and stay there, then you've got a massive sell-off the size of which you've not even come to fathom yet. And that would be because you would put yourself, as the Ben Bernanke already stated, if we go to fiscal cliff, the Fed doesn't have the tools to stop what would happen then. And that's basically a market crash. And that market crash in the U.S. would then affect Europe as well. So all the stuff that we've seen the ECB doing to try to prop up the markets over there, you would see it all unravel. So that's really a hard sell to believe that just the politicians here in the U.S. are going to go ahead and say, you know what, let's just sink the whole world in this one little move right here. I don't see that happening. This is a quick picture of the Australian market, the AORD. You can see in this chart, it's basically going to reflect what you're seeing in most every other chart out there except the U.S. market. So if you look at the French markets, the FTSE, the DAX, Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, the BSE, AORD, regardless, they're all going to look basically like this. You have this high point here, a higher high here, a low point here. The next pullback gives you a series of higher highs and higher lows, and that would create a buying opportunity. So your next pullback here would be something like that. You get low point here, higher low here. This would be trending up. You'd have higher highs, higher lows. You'd be a buyer. There's no argument there. I would always work with the trend, never against it. However, when we go now and we look at the U.S. markets, you'll notice a little bit different. This is a picture of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it won't matter if you're looking at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Russell. Regardless, they're all going to look basically the same as this one. Here's your high point and the previous high, and then we just had a massive sell-off, and then we've retraced roughly 50% of that come up here. And we're not doing what the other markets have done and actually taking out the previous high. It would require us to be here. So this is why I'm saying when you look at the fiscal cliff argument, it depends on your overall view of what's going to happen with the fiscal cliff is to determine what you would do at this particular point in this chart. If you believe that over the weekend they're going to come out and say, oh, surprise, here's the solution to the fiscal cliff, well, then you would be using this as a buy opportunity. If you believe instead that they're going to let it run up to the deadline before doing so, then you can expect to see more selling as we reach or we come closer to that deadline, and then you'd see a rally. If you believe we'll go over the fiscal cliff and then solve it, then you'd see a massive sell-off, maybe even take out the previous low, and at that particular point you have a higher series of, or I should draw it this way, clean that up a little bit. You can see a higher series of highs at this point, lower series of lows at this point. This means sideways moving activity, and I would still attempt to buy that market because sideways moving activity means the market's doing this, and I want to trade both sides. I want to sell, I want to buy, I want to sell, I want to buy. Now, in this market where the variables can change the way they are, I mean, I can't tell you what day the politicians will come out with a deal. There's no way for me to tell you what's going to happen short term. It would actually be a disservice for me to try to tell you that I could. I'd be hurting you by telling you that, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen, because nobody does. Somebody asked me a couple days ago after this signal showed up if the following day gave confirmation with a lower series of highs and lower series of lows, would I mark that as a sell? And I said no. The reason I wouldn't do that is because I can't tell you if over the weekend a deal will be made. And if a deal is made over the weekend, you won't see us open here. You'll see us open here. So that's not some scenario I want to put you in on the short side. So it's important to think about. Each one of you are going to have to make your own decision on this for the current time period until this is solved. I'm going to be no help to you whatsoever from looking at the charts and telling you, oh, I see this or I see that, because the market is discounting the potential of the fiscal cliff. So the closer we get to the fiscal cliff, then the lower we're going to pull back. And it's just going to be the way it is until eventually a deal is made. Okay, now one final point, because I know you guys come here for my opinion, so let me give it to you, just my opinion. And that's all it is speculation. I personally believe that a deal will be made before the deadline. That's just my personal opinion. And that means, to me, I'm looking at the chart as being a pullback equals buy opportunity. But I have to look longer than just real short term. So I'm thinking of options that are in terms of months as opposed to days or weeks. So that's important. A little piece of the puzzle for you guys if you're out there looking for something, trying to figure out a way to take advantage of the pullback without putting yourself in too much damage from the fiscal cliff deadline. Then think of longer term scenarios. For those of you who are not comfortable with taking any risk in that scenario, then you need to man up and say, you know what, I just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and so I'm going to step out of the markets until the smoke clears. And that's the smartest thing I can tell you to do, okay? And that's about it. If you've not been to the free website at perfectstockalert.com, you know where it's at. It's right there, 100% free. All we ask in return, refer a friend or a monkey. We'll take either. And that's about it. Enjoy your weekend, and be safe, and please pray for those who lost loved ones, friends, and family in the school shooting in the U.S. Today. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.